Well, episode 3 of the Mike Huckabee series is here. So this series is, a very supportive series from you guys. You guys actually like this series a lot. Kind of surprised by that. So if you don't know, this series is what if Mike Huckabee won the 2008 Republican nomination alternate history scenario. And in this scenario, Republicans in 2008 broke against the establishment and voted against McCain and instead picked Huckabee. And if you remember, the Huckabee map would have been significantly better for Republicans down ballot and up ballot. For example, Huckabee would have won North Carolina in the state of Indiana in that scenario. Two states that McCain lost, alright? And he would have done a little bit better in Missouri, Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, etc. Alright? And you would have seen him do a little bit worse than McCain, maybe in Texas, but you get the point. You can go watch the first video. But what was so significant about that election was if McCain wasn't the nominee, alright, who was a pretty bad candidate, by the way, Republicans would have picked Huckabee, and, well, down ballot-wise, Republicans would have still not done great, but it would have not been a complete landslide like it was. Republicans still would have lost the Senate and House. No way they would have won either. But the House be a little bit closer in this scenario, and that's significant, even if it's only five or six House seats. Because, if you remember, Obamacare was a big deal for the Democrats. That was Obama's biggest policy in 2008. In this scenario, alright, the House gets the vote, the Senate passed it by a slightly closer margin than our timeline, and the House votes and, well, it fails. Obamacare in this scenario would have failed. Republicans would have gained just enough House seats to overcome that only like 2-3 vote margin the Democrats in the House had. And that would have been a complete death blow to the Obama presidency. And that's why you would have seen Republicans have such a massive wave in 2010, 2011, 2009, etc. Because it was Obama's biggest thing. And he never got it passed. And even if he gets it passed, it would have been a compromise within a compromise. Nutshell, it would have been worse than our timeline. So I highly doubt it would have passed. And if it didn't pass, well, Obama's popularity would sink, right? Because that would signal that he wouldn't be able to get anything done, right? A lot of close votes of important policies, they wouldn't have passed, right? And between 2011 and 2012, Obama literally did nothing. Nothing would have been done. He has nothing, not even the Senate. So Republicans, this is a big win for them because this is a huge platform they would use in 2012 because it's like, okay, Obama has not even passed Obamacare and it's been only 4 years. We already gave him his 4 years for healthcare. Now it's our turn. And this timeline, if you remember, Romney was the nominee in 2012 for Republicans. But in this timeline, I highly doubt he would have been the nominee. Without McCain winning in 2008, the neocons and Rhino faction would not be big enough for Romney to win. And the Never Romney vote would be way too much for Romney to overcome. And instead, the Republican nominee would have been Rick Santorum. If you don't know who Rick Santorum is, he is a very interesting politician. Used to be a senator from Pennsylvania. And he was very socially conservative. One of the most socially conservative politicians in 2012. Imagine him as the Ted Cruz of social conservatives of 2012. Just think about that for a second. And, well, he may have been even more extreme than Ted Cruz in social issues, but that's another topic. But what was interesting about Rick Santorum was he had a populist message to his campaign. A very subtle but nevertheless a populist message, alright? And in this timeline, it would have been enough for him to overcome Romney, Gingrich, etc. And he would have been the Republican nominee. And a unified Republican Party versus basically a nearly collapsing Democrat Party. Obama coalition is starting to fall apart. It's not looking too good for Obama. He would not be popular at all. He would have basically got nothing done in 4 years. So, let's get right to the prediction. Now again, this could be a 2-part episode 3. The first part is, well, this episode. Pretty much in a nutshell, it'll be presidential election. The other video will be the Senate House, and other stuff. So this is the 2012 Rick Santorum versus Barack Obama election. And let's begin. The safe Republican states have been Alaska, Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, the Dakotas, all of Nebraska except Nebraska's second, Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, that's a big deal at the time, Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, the Deep South, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, and the great state of South Carolina. So this would have been the safe Republican stronghold for this election. For Obama, it would have been California, Washington, Hawaii, Illinois, the Northeast, the swamp, of course, Delaware, everything up here would be safe, and all Maine except Maine's 2nd District. So this is the somewhat competitive to competitive states. And already you may notice Oregon. Look at this. Obama won it by 12 last time. And in this scenario, it would have been a lot closer. Would have been around an 8 to 9 point victory for Obama. Significant. Especially with Huckabee doing a lot better than McCain would have. Particularly the western half of this nation. And that would be important for 2016 and 2020. We won't get to it though. But in a nutshell, Republicans would have made significant ground in the Northwest and in the West in general. That's huge for the Republicans. So Oregon would be closer. Washington particularly would be a lot closer. Borderline likely, but again, it would have been a safe margin for Obama. So yes, this is a pretty significant movement. But still, nothing else. The other likely Democrat states would have been Nevada, because it's Rick Santorum I don't think would have done good at all in Nevada. He would have lost by the same margin that Romney did. And the last likely Democrat state you could really say is probably New Mexico. The biggest reason for New Mexico is Santorum would have done probably like a half a point better or a point better, especially with his very socially conservative views. But it wouldn't have been enough to swing it 12 points Republican. So he would have lost New Mexico by around 9 points, 9.5. Still a likely margin, no, neither less. Now for the likely Republican states, Arizona, Georgia come to mind instantly. Georgia would have been a little bit closer than our timeline. Rick Santorum would have won by 6 or 7. Arizona, same deal, he would have won by 6, 7, 8. So these are the likely states. So these are the actual states that actually matter for this election. And the lean states for Obama would have been Minnesota, Virginia, and Maine 2nd. Notice it got a lot closer in this timeline. You look at this and, well, Obama did pretty good in the 2nd District. He won a lot of these counties by wide margins, 7 points, 18 points, 15, 2, etc. He only lost 1 county. So that's significant in itself. Maine's 2nd District would have swung heavily Republican, but not enough for Santorum to flip it. The lean Republican states would be the following. North Carolina and the great state of Ohio. That may sound crazy, but think about this for a second. North Carolina, he would have won by probably the same margin, if not a little bit more, than Romney did. He would have done a little bit worse in the Wake area than Romney did, but this part of the state right here, the northwest eastern part of the state, he would have done significantly better. There's a lot of blue dogs, Democrats up here. There's a lot of the former legacy Dems that live up here. He would do a lot better in this part of the state, in particular the eastern half and the western half. He just would have done a little bit worse in the central part of the state than Romney did. But for Ohio, that may seem crazy, but you look at the swing map, and you notice places like Mahoning County, Trumbull County, Ashibla, and just the southern half. They swing Democrat and slight, if not just tiny bit Republican. And again, in this scenario, this would have meant that Santorum would have did a little bit worse than Romney did in Hamilton County, Butler, Clermont, and Warren County, but it would have made up everything in the southern half alone. And him doing a lot better in the northeastern part of the state, that alone pushes it to a lean margin. And you have a lot more counties he would have done a lot better in. So mathematically wise, it would have been a lean Republican state. So these are the actual, real, complete toss-ups. There's 95 electoral votes up for grabs. And the following would go to Obama for sure. We're going to go West Coast to East Coast. Colorado. This is a surprise flip. I think in this timeline, Santorum would have won the state of Colorado. Now, Santorum did a pretty good job, actually, in the Republican primary in Colorado. This is where he upset Romney in this scenario, in our scenario. In this scenario, on the other hand, he would have won it by a wider margin, and this is a state where you look at the swing map, again, the western half of the state, the eastern half, and even then, this part of the state, the more Denver part of the area, you would have done a little bit better than Romney did. Again, this is maybe pushing it, but mathematically wise, I do think he would have won Colorado. That's a one state where you just look at the numbers and really replace Romney with pretty much anybody, and you would have seen Santorum win that. Any Republican probably would have won Colorado in this scenario. Now, Iowa, or Nebraska second. Again, that's a tilt state, count district, I should say. Romney won it by a pretty wide margin, but that's a district where I think Santorum would struggle big time in. It's more of the rhino neocons live. Well, not really that, but not really the hard-nosed socially conservatives you would find in anywhere else in the nation. But again, it's a district nonetheless that Santorum would win this scenario. You do a little bit worse in Omaha, and yeah. Now we got Iowa. This is say I think Santorum would flip. You look at the swing map, and you look at the eastern half of the state. This is where Santorum, again, would make his biggest improvement in over Romney. In the southern part, this entire part, he would do way better in, right? You see these dark blue counties, Clinton County, Johnson County. Romney lost them by 23, 35. Santorum would have lost them, but by significantly less margins. And you add up all the math, and really that's the state that I think Santorum would have flipped. Now on to Wisconsin. I think Obama would have won Wisconsin this timeline by around a half percentage point. Santorum would do a lot better in the driftless area, but really the Waukesha and Washington Ozaukee, I just highly doubt that Santorum could get that huge swing he would need in the WOW counties to really win Wisconsin. He would probably win a lot of the driftless area. Right, you could see him probably winning not Eau Claire, but Dunn County, Buffalo, etc. But I don't think it would have been enough for Santorum to win the state of Wisconsin. Now, Michigan, again, that would have been probably actually a lean state. I highly doubt that Santorum would have won the state of Michigan, mostly due to the fact that you're talking about pretty much a 10-point swing. And even then, a 9-point swing in this scenario would be unlikely in Michigan. Though it's possible, I highly doubt it. Now we got Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania. This would be the most important state. And you look at the swing map. And these are just with Romney. Like, the western half is with Romney on the ballot. And Bucks County is with Romney. If this was actual Republican versus Obama, a Republican should have won. That's why I'm saying that Santorum should have won. You look at the swing map, and it just doesn't make sense how Romney was Romney and did this good. It was a swing map in Pennsylvania. Again, if it was Santorum, he would have easily won the state, I think. The actual home field advantage for Santorum, not Joe Biden. There's a senator here, he won a couple elections here, and he would have been an actual conservative, an actual Republican. And I do think he would have won Pennsylvania by half a point. Now we got Florida. It's the one state where, again, I think Santorum would have won. And that would have given Santorum the presidency. The panhandle is all I gotta say. Republicans, or I should say Romney, struggled big time for a Republican in the panhandle. Big time, in fact. Like, you see Liberty swing Democrat. Washington swing Democrat. Even his swings he got were pretty much nothing. And really, I do think Santorum would have won Florida at the end of the day. And that alone would have given him the presidency. New Hampshire, I think that Santorum would have lost, but it would have been very close. So this would have been the presidential map if it was Rick Santorum versus Barack Obama. Now, you can say all you want about Colorado, but that's the one state I'm saying that's a crazy pick, but that's the one state I think that you would have seen Obama struggle big time in a state where Rick Santorum would have done a lot better than Romney would have. and you just look at the swing map in Pennsylvania, Florida, the math is there for those 3 states. And even if you gave Obama Iowa and Colorado, I still think that Santorum would have won. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, hit the link button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, and yes. We'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.